Any citizens communication?
I do not. No.
Okay. Next up, did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes from last meeting?
Yes.
Were there any questions? Okay, if not, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve?
And a second, if we still need that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
second?
need a second. Second? Anybody second? that we
Oh, I
approve?
second the
Oh, there we go.
motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. And next is the library director's report.
Okay. Before I forget, I will start with, last meeting we had looked at the change in the ordinance that the city council had done. And y'all had the question about whether or not we still vote. Yes, that has not changed. So we still vote on stuff. Okay, so library director's report. We're now pretty much full circle. Next month, I think, will mark the second anniversary of closing down for COVID. So I have taken the 2019 stats off. And we will just be looking at the previous year and this year's. And as you can see, our stats are still climbing. They are, again, still close to pre-COVID levels. Last year, they were still pretty far down. You can see just looking at our circulation stats, how much that's changed. Last month, we did a program on homelessness and teens at risk. That went really well. It was, I believe it was remote, and it was in partnership with the Pflugerville Independent School District. So that offered us a lot of useful information. It was directed for teens who are homeless, and anybody who knows homeless teens, or unhoused teens, I should say. Winterfest, that's our big winter celebration for kids, what's really for families and kids up to age 10. So that was huge. Matt Robertson participated in that, volunteered for that, and word has it that he did a great job. Our current art show right now is Springtime Awakening. It's two sisters, Hannah and Rebecca Kim, and it will be up through the 17th, and the next show is going to be from the Pflugerville Council of the Arts. So that's going to be several artists showing. And that's it for the report.
And next, teen liaison report. Sophie.
Yes, I've communicated numerous times. I think I just went yesterday. We've had nothing. From what I can tell, there's a bunch of trees falling down, but that's not necessarily a library difficulty. So nothing that necessarily we can do.
And report of the Friends of the Library activities.
Friends of the Library received a letter of recognition from the governor for their 40th anniversary of the library. The Friends Act group started in 1981, and the first library started in 1982. So 2022 was the 40th anniversary. And they received a letter of recognition for that. They also have planned their next book sale, which will be March the 2nd. 10 to 7, I believe, and then we usually just leave it up over the weekend at least. So we'll be doing that. I'll be contacting you, Dawn,
That
about
saves me my question.
leftover books, and that's all they had. They did elect their board, and it is exactly the same board as it was last year.
Okay, and library-related bills for the 88th Texas legislative session.
Okay, so there's a lot of bills that will impact libraries going before the Texas legislature this year. I sent out the briefs. The Texas State Library keeps track of all of this, so they have a whole webpage that just has the briefs. I have also signed up. You can do this if you're interested. The link was in that email that I sent you for the legislature, I cannot pronounce that, online, where you can track the bills. So you get alerts whenever there's been any action on the bill. And I have signed up for that. So I'm hoping that I will get more information. I did pass out the text of the bills, the full texts. I'm not going to go through every single one of them tonight. Some of the bills mostly affect school libraries, and some of the bills are great, though. There's one bill that is a Texas, that would allow the Texas State Library to give grants for building projects, which has not been something that they've been able to do. And building grants for construction or renovation or anything is pretty scarce in Texas as far as libraries go. Generally, they are given by private foundations, and the majority of them are given where those foundations happen to be, and that's generally in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So it's hard to get a grant for a construction project, but hopefully if this bill passes, then there may be more opportunity for us, which is great because we all know that we need a building. I don't think that's any secret. There are some on here, and I do not want to give my personal opinion on them. You guys read them and make your own judgment calls on those. Some of them will affect school libraries more than public libraries. However, the language of the bills is such that it could then be applied to public libraries, including institutions of higher learning. So there are bills that could impact colleges and universities also, and special libraries. So there's that. Does anybody have anything? Yes?
So when you say it could affect like higher education, does that mean like it even applies to private foundations, or like we're talking like?
If the bills go through, some of them go through without any noodling or tweaking, which I don't think that they will without some tweaking. If they go through, then it would affect any kind of library. I don't know about a foundation, but if it were a library, there is the potential that it could affect them also. So, does anybody have any commentary on that or concerns or?
Not anything we can really do, right?
There isn't.
They pushed us down the slide and we just get to ride. That's kind of how it works. So.
Right, we can't do anything about proposed legislation. It hasn't passed yet, so really, I took a webinar on all of the legislation, and they went through each and every single bill. And our professional groups have been discussing this quite a bit since last September. So right now, we're just kind of in a holding pattern, I think, of wait and see if the bills go through, and if they go through as written, which is unlikely they will go through as written. So there's that. I did bring it up. I wanted you guys to be aware that this legislation is out there. I don't want it to be a surprise. A lot of it deals with content of library materials and obscenity. So
Perceived content.
yes. And as I've stated before, if in our policies and in most libraries, every library that I know of follows the obscenity, three-pronged obscenity test, which is also called the Miller test, and it was something that was handed down from California versus Miller and by the Supreme Court, and it is a test that you can use if you are evaluating a library or a library material for obscenity. Now they don't use the terms like pornography or anything like that. It's obscenity, and it's what we in the profession have used to measure content when somebody complains. Does it pass the Miller test? I can't speak for whether or not the Miller test will still be something that is in the law that they use. I can't tell you one way or the other on that. But for now, we will continue with our our normal business.
In Texas, do they have associations or lobbyists or librarians? Do they go to the lawmakers and make their opinions known?
They do. Our city actually has a lobbyist, but they do, and there's a legislative day for librarians, and they do show up for that. There are several groups going around the country and in Texas that are very focused on these issues, so they're paying a lot of attention.
As board members, are we, as acting as individual citizens, is there anything we should know about as how like we are identified as board members if we're talking about anything pertaining to the legislative session?
As private, if you're not presenting yourself as the opinion of the library board, you know, you guys are free citizens, and you know, and that's why I don't want to like get my opinion mixed up in this. I'll say my opinion as an information professional because it sounds so snotty, but I don't want my personal opinion or my professional opinion right now to be something that is influencing the board in any way. You guys read the bills and make up your own mind. But if you are speaking at an event or if you are at anywhere, you cannot present it as the library board says XYZ, because that would be a violation of the Open Meetings Act and blah, blah, blah. So it gets complicated. But certainly as private citizens, you can do whatever you like. Okay, so just be aware about the legislation that's going on and the fact that this could be, we could be seeing some, how do I put this? We could be seeing some extra work ahead of us in the future. So there you go. And you guys are free to ask questions or discuss while we're here.
Well, I had a question. Keep in mind I might just not be comprehending it correctly, so it's more of a question about the wording. In section 2, I think A2, section 51.93, yeah, section 51.9315.
Section 2 of which bill, sorry?
That's a good question. Hold on. Apologies. I think this is number 1006. HB number 1000.
They should be in numerical order,
Yes.
I think.
Is it a House bill?
Here we go.
Yes, it is a House bill.
House bill.
So,
And you said section 2?
yes.
Okay,
In,
yes.
in section 2, well, it defines expressive activities. I don't really have any questions about that. That seems pretty okay. But I guess like my question is, on section 2, it says it must prohibit the funding, promotion, sponsorship of any office of diversity, equity, and inclusion, or any office that promotes, sponsors, or supports an initiative or formulation of diversity and equity and inclusion that is beyond what is necessary to uphold the equal protection laws. That sounds like, I don't know. I'm not necessarily sure how to phrase it. It seems like it's very neutral whenever.
Yeah, and that bill is, in particular, is addressing institutes of higher learning. And again, this would just be speculation on my part, but I would think maybe, and anybody who knows more, and I'm sure you all know more than I do about this, who is writing like policy or bills, like it's not always going to be super specific. I think that they maintain some
Maneuverability.
ambiguity, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, there's an office that writes, I mean, any legislator can put forward any bill that they'd like, but there is also an office that you tell them what you want in terms of language, and they have lawyers that'll draft that. I worked 2 legislative sessions.
Oh, I'm so glad.
And I will say, you read it correctly.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like, you read that out loud correctly.
okay.
So,
All right. Okay. I don't know. It's, I'm not gonna flip my own personal opinion, but,
okay. All right, thank you for the question.
of course.
Was it answered?
Yes,
Okay.
it was answered. Yes.
Okay, so, and, you guys, like I said, free with your opinions and everything else. I try and keep mine, off the table simply because that's part of my profession. So, yeah. All right.
Any other questions? Okay. The next up would be the library policies feedback from the legal department.
Okay, so legal looked at it, and there were no major changes in it. I mean, there's a lot of, I wasn't consistent in my terminology throughout, so I need to go back and fix that. But I think the main thing that I got from them was the harassment policy. When I spoke with legal, she said that it changes so often that maybe don't be so specific, maybe just refer to the law. So I need to bring that to you guys to see if you're good with that. And if so, then I will make the change in the policy.
I'm good with that because the technology is constantly changing too.
Okay. And now we have some lawyers on the board.
I will say from a drafting perspective, that's a good tactic, because sometimes, if you're too specific, you might inadvertently leave something out, and always referring to a definition, if that definition is going to be changing, is a good idea.
Okay. All right. The other thing that she asked about was, how does a person get on the library board agenda? And we don't really say how they do. And then also, what is the appeals process for challenged material if they don't like the decision that is given to them?
I thought we added that, specifically to that, because that came up with that guy a couple of years ago, with the film thing or whatever.
Did we add it and I just didn't put it in there?
I thought we discussed adding it.
Which section again?
That would be under challenged materials.
What number is that?
It is,
4.4.
thank you. And I don't even see it on here. I don't think I printed it. Did I?
No,
I'm
we
missing
get 4.1 and
4.4.
4.5.
The
I go
one
from
page.
page 15 to 16.
I thought we really worked on that because we had him as an example, and
Yeah, I think I don't have it in here.
remember we qualified that it doesn't just go to you. Remember we added steps because it was like, basically it said, the library director will decide, stop. And we went, okay, let's fill that out a little further.
But
So,
wouldn't that still count to like the feedback from the lawyers? Wouldn't that still all, I remember, yes, we
Right.
rehashed and like went through that.
Yeah.
But I still think that would all be like the first step. So if like you
Yeah.
go through all this work and the ultimate decision lies with the director. And then what if you don't like that decision? Is that what they're
Yeah, that's
talking
what they're
about?
talking
Okay. I don't think we ever got beyond.
Did you
Yeah.
have something? I'm
That.
sorry.
Yeah, I was just trying to get his attention and ask him if he needed to tell you all about something that he participated in, but I think it might have already been here.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. And I apologize that it is not in this packet. It must not be in the PDF that I sent her.
I think I'm missing every even numbered page.
Oh, I wonder,
11,
okay,
13,
I apologize.
15, 17.
I'm sure that I did not print this correctly. Can you bring up the oh, you don't have a computer with you. Let me go grab my laptop.
It's at the bottom of page 16.
I have it online, but
Oh, yeah, I'm the same. I don't have even
Yeah,
number pages.
I don't have page 16 either. Yeah, I don't have.
But
any
you also
even.
have a color copy,
I might have another copy of it over
and
here.
we have the black and whites, so there's separate copies.
Okay.
She gave you that one, right? You didn't
Yeah.
bring that? Yeah, her copy's different.
Yeah. This one also no even. I printed them all at the same time, I promise. And this one doesn't. Do you have the even pages? No, okay. Can I borrow somebody's even pages?
It looks like the only comment legal said was, above we say custodian, what is intended to be covered by
Oh,
this
yeah.
statement, which is responsible party. That's the only comment I see.
I spoke with her on the phone,
Oh.
though. So let me see it. What is in here? Thank you, guys. Oh, yeah, the color copies have it. Sorry, I'll pass it to you, Laura. All right, so page 16. 4.
I think this has the wording that we added. Because I thought we added, once an item has gone through the formal process, the decision on material will remain in place for a period of 2 years. I
Yeah,
think that's new.
and then the director will be the responsible party for, or custodian is what she suggests for the library collection. She did ask me, though, about an appeals process.
Well, if we have a time limit on it, that they could then bring it up again within, after that 2-year period.
I think what we wanted to avoid was having somebody come in and challenge a material, we make a decision on it, and then another person comes in, or they get 5 more friends to come in and say, I don't like this material, and then we would be having to decide on that material every single time.
Was legal recommending an appeal process or just
No, she
inquiring
just
into
asked.
whether, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a call and a little review on that part will
Yeah.
be good use.
Yeah, I guess I just assumed that if somebody didn't like it, they would just go to council with it.
Yeah, but you don't want to assume.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
But I think
So-
it gives them that option, because it's first they come to you, and you talk to staff, and if they're not happy with what you say, then they can fill out the statement of concern.
Mhm.
So that's the,
Yeah.
That's a
and
change.
then the
Is the
ultimate
appeal?
decision is yours after that statement of concern, then they can go to the board offers their opinion, and then you decide. Seems like.
And if something has been challenged within the last 2 years, couldn't we state that
It
it's not
cannot be
open for
challenged
challenging
again.
again, no
Yeah.
matter the party, until?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in there. Once an item has gone through the formal process, the decision on that material will remain in place for a period of 2 years.
I would ask legal, I do not know legal necessarily, but I could see that wording being manipulated to go, oh, that one person has to stay out of it for 2 years, not, you know what I
The
mean?
material
Not the
itself.
material, you know what I mean? So them running the same chain that you're talking about before, you know? So I'm sure they can come up with some kind of specific words that make that work.
Yes, I see your point. People love.
Either way, just have her look at that section, you know what I mean, since we're worried about it a little bit.
Yeah,
Well, it does say, once an item has gone through the formal process, the decision on that material will remain in place for a period of 2 years. I think it is specific to the material and not just that the singular complaint.
Right. No, I believe that too, but I've heard all this, you know, how many times have we heard that a lawyer found a way around it? So I'm just trying to,
Good point.
okay, so let's take another look at that part. And I always think I'm done with policy. Because like the minute I get done with one, I'm like, oh, I should have done this. So then the other, another thing that she suggested was that I have, to make sure to define some of the terms in here, which makes sense to me too. not everybody's gonna understand.
In loco parentis.
Yeah. And then it was on page 4, she asked, how do I get on an agenda for the library board? The only time I've had somebody, well, that's not true. Like, it's always just been the super informal process where people just said, hey, can I come talk to the library board? Just put them on the agenda. Do we want to have some sort of like thing for people to fill out? Maybe we could do like an online form or a print form or something.
And this would be for like a discussion topic and not.
It could be a presentation or a discussion topic, but that would be a good thing to have on the form if we go that route.
Well, I mean, we could specify that it is well, not necessarily specify that it's informal, but specify that it is a conversation that one must have with the library director to place, instead of making it this complicated Google form, or like, then you have to put it on the website, or then you have to add a whole bunch of things. You could just say that if one wants to be added to the library format, or sorry, just like to the library schedule, you can contact the library director and put in a request, or however that is phrased in legal.
But that's what it says.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now that's how it is.
I think the only question is, can somebody put anything? I want to put some random thing on the agenda. Is it like your discretion whether that gets to be on the agenda or not? I think that's what she's getting at.
Yeah, at the discretion of the library director, that the topic is pertinent to
Right.
the library board. I think also, and I don't have those pages, and it's been a minute since we discussed this, and I've read it, that clarifies when you come to the library board, what does that entail for you? You don't just get to come in, and by the time you leave, there's a decision that changes things. You get to make your statement in these kind of parameters. You get to do a presentation or something like that. You have, a finite amount of time. And then the next time, we will, discuss and perhaps make it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to clarify how that's going to work for them.
Yeah.
Because I know that fellow who came, he thought it was going to be that minute.
I'd fear being too specific, that we would make a process too onerous, because we don't get to be the arbiters of like what is valuable information. It's like, it's an open meeting. And so I would just fear if we were as specific as a form or had some judging of like how valuable a conversation was, that would run afoul of.
We could say something, we have something in here about public comment. We could say something like, if you want an agenda item brought to the library board, contact the director and just
Yeah.
leave it at that.
No, I'm not talking about like your topic's not good enough. I'm saying some poor person that's a little confused or doesn't know what's going on, coming in here and wanting to talk about Gilliland Pool not being heated correctly. That's what I'm saying as far as let's make sure it's library related and, yeah, not.
We could probably put that in the language, like if you have library-related topics you would like to put on the agenda, contact the director.
Well, I think that would also add another thing where we have to define what is and is not library related, which brings it back to the arbiter of what is and what is not valuable information. So, there's 1,000 different ways to interpret it, and 10,000 better words to say, 1,000,000 better ways to say it. It's one of those situations where I'm not sure if we can necessarily win.
Yeah, we're always in danger of policying everybody to death. I kind of did that with the sexual harassment.
Well, I think that's what limits, the limit on someone complaining about a pool for an inordinate amount of time is the 3-minute limit that we have on citizens' communications. Then the board gets to be the decider of how much time we spend speaking on a specific agenda.
I think that we could do something where if somebody wanted to be on the agenda, they contact the director per per our instructions. At that point, if they're talking about Gilliland Pool or the street light by my house,
Right.
I would refer them to the streets department.
Yeah,
Or the parks department or something.
yeah. Well, I was just saying that because we were talking about possibly having an online form or something like that.
That's, yeah,
And then you have someone just,
it does get very convoluted, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me come up with some language. I really want to get the policies online, but I don't want to get them online not correct. Does that make sense? So, sorry that I'm dragging this out a little bit, but I just want to make sure that we are doing the right thing.
Well-
measure twice, cut once.
There you go. Which I should have done when I was redoing my bathroom, but I didn't, and it was a huge disaster.
Measure once, cut twice, I've done that too.
I guess, like, my thing is, if we want to just, because I think it's more dangerous to not have policies on, like online. I'm very uneducated on the subject, so interrupt me if I'm wrong. But what we could do is we could just, maybe have not necessarily a news tab, it's up to the software designers, but necessarily we could add all these policies, but making it an uneditable document, and maybe we could have notifications on wherever if if there's any major changes or any even slight changes, anything that pertains to the citizens of Pflugerville that go to the library, we could just have them notified if they want to check in on the policies, because I think they should know about the updated policies, and but again, I'm very
No, that's a
uneducated.
good point. We do have last year's policies online. I don't know if it goes out, it goes out in the agenda, and I generally don't have the working document included on the online agenda. If somebody wanted it, I could certainly send it to them, simply because I'm usually working on it until the last minute, and it wouldn't be the latest version. But they are notified, but I don't think, it doesn't go out in the email notifications or anything like that. I suppose it could. It's something to think about for sure. Mhm. So, all right. So anything else on the policies? Let me look real quick. Nothing. Oh, she suggested removing the lost and found item.
Found on what page?
It is on page 8,
Oh.
and you don't get it. It just says that we're not responsible if you leave your stuff at the library. And she says that just did removing it because there's nothing in the city policy about that. We do have a lost and found. We keep stuff for people unless it is a like sensitive document or a wallet, an ID, something like that, a credit card. We call PD to come pick it up. If it's a sippy cup or a backpack with nothing in it, then it goes in our lost and found, and it stays there about 8 weeks. And if it's not picked up within 8 weeks, then it goes into the next bin of lost and found stuff, and it stays there until somebody has the time to take it and donate it. So, yeah.
Well, I just question why remove it if it exists. I feel like there should be something about it.
I can definitely bring that up with the legal department. She just suggested we remove it. I don't think anything that she says in here is like you have to do this. We didn't have big errors or anything. She just says this should be removed as it does not assist with the city's policies unless there is a lost and found, and we can identify the specifics of a lost and found.
So it would just add more complexity if we were to add the lost and found bit, is like what she's saying? That would be a whole nother layer.
I think that she would want us to define it out a lot more.
Ooh.
Does that sound like what she's saying?
I think she's saying either define it out more or just remove
Or
it.
just remove it, yeah.
I don't think either way is a wrong decision.
I mean, to like the point of what the other side of the argument would be, it may just be an informal lost and found thing. I mean, it's a library lost and found. So I'm not sure that much legal trouble could arise from that, but speculation is always kind of dangerous.
I think that we would have more trouble if we defined it out a lot, because if you tell somebody that you're gonna keep their, whatever they left here, their shoe, we had somebody leave their pants here. We don't know how or why that happened, but it did. And they were wet, so in that case, we did not keep them, we just threw them out. But if we have a policy that says we will keep your item for 8 weeks, I think that would make us more liable than not having it in there. So I'm team take it out. What do you think? Yeah?
I mean, if that's what she's advising and the city doesn't have any kind of policy to then reference in its place, I agree that if our options are take it out or define it more, we're opening the door to get more in trouble if we have a stricter definition.
Yeah. I think I agree with that.
Okay. So, taking that out.
It looks like she had quite a few things to say about the meeting rooms.
Yeah, on page 13, she was asking about some details about a penalty if the renters were kind of trashing the room as far as their trash goes, if they would be fined for that or prohibited from renting again.
And we did at one time have like a cleaning fee that we did. See, what would this entail? It's page 13 where she's highlighted a public nuisance. What would this entail? Are they prohibited from renting again? Are they required to pay additional rent again? How about a penalty?
Right, because just saying created a public nuisance doesn't, what
Yeah.
does that mean?
Yeah, so take out considered, created a public nuisance. How about guests may lose meeting room privileges? It's not really a privilege because we're charging them.
Well, it is necessarily a privilege because even if they pay for it, then that's not, well, then they rent it for a certain amount of time, and it is a privilege to own that until, we can take it away if they start to, create any damage. So,
Yeah, I know we had a cleaning fee at one point, but I think we took it out. Apparently we took it out. What about just saying guests are expected to clean up any trash associated with food or drink, period?
Well, I do like having, if we want the ability to say, you made a mess, you can't come back, it'd be more beneficial to have as just something in there.
May lose the ability to rent a room in the future.
Yeah, I don't think it
You mean
needs
based
to.
on, how bad it is, or based on director's
Sounds
decision?
good.
well, just to not to complicate it, not even necessarily to be like a devil's advocate, but would then we have to disclose, and this is just a question, wouldn't we then have to disclose what would constitute, how would we make sure that they don't get to rent again? Is that a decision up to one person? Is that like a vote, or
I think the fact that it says may takes care of that.
takes care of that? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Grants
May
discretion.
versus shall.
Oh, grammar.
I did a session at the ledge too, so it was very you have to check your mays and
Permissive
shalls. Yeah.
versus
And we do
required.
have a checkoff sheet when people go to turn the room back in, when they're done with it. We have a checkoff sheet. Then we go with them, staff goes with them and says, okay, trash is empty, tables are put back, that sort of thing. So I think that'll work.
And then on the previous page, she had several proposed additions, it looks like.
Are you referring to page 12?
Page 12. And then also questions about commercial uses or social events.
Yeah, and actually, according to the same legal department, the previous year, they can rent a room and then charge admission to whatever. So, but I guess I need to, I mean, I agree that we get into trouble when it's too specific. And now we know why the bills are kind of weird. She asked about the fire marshal. She asked if consumption of alcoholic beverages, no. It's not a fire marshal decision, but it's a pretty standard decision that people cannot have illegal products, tobacco products, or alcohol consumption on library property.
Don't
Most
we have
libraries.
programs with alcohol?
We have programs, but that's our program. It's not everybody gets a bottle. It's a glass this big for paint and sip. But I'm going to ask Eric Lashley. He's the former director of Georgetown, and they allowed people to have alcohol at their functions. So I'm going to talk to him and figure that one out. I don't think that, I'm pretty sure it's not illegal for us to say no on that. But I'll ask him how it went down. I know that another library, and I won't name the library, but there was another library in the area that did allow private parties, which we do under our new meeting room rules, with alcohol, and they got a lot of complaints from the residents around the library because of the behavior of the people who were at that particular party, but, you know, doesn't necessarily mean that would happen here. I don't know. What do y'all think? Pro alcohol or no alcohol?
I think alcohol only if the library provides it. Or not at all, but not bring it in from outside. That it seems like just asking for trouble.
I think it's unlikely someone's going to throw a rager at the Pflugerville Library, though I don't know.
I feel like, let me talk to Emily too about that. I feel like that is a decision for city council, maybe even, because it's city property.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also at that point, if we were to, be pro-alcohol, I feel like that would open up a whole nother page of, we would have to make a whole lot of list of things like, oh, this is specified, this is not our responsibility. It would make a whole nother, I feel like, couple
I think there would be
pages.
a lot of, up to that point, I think there would be a lot of liability involved also.
Yeah, I think that cutting it out, or cutting it out entirely, I think that if we have, as specified by Ms. Jenikin, or sorry,
Dawn's good.
Dawn, sorry, Miss Dawn. Miss Dawn, if we just had if provided by the city or the library, more likely, it would be allowed, but if it's provided by a private facility, I don't mean to keep on expounding.
No, I'm glad that you're participating. And you made me think that I need to talk to the assistant city manager about that part of it because of it being city property. So we do have permission to have limited amount of alcohol at some of our 21 and up, events. And it's very, very, very limited. So, yeah.
I do believe that's a positive, because at that point it sounds more like artistry or like artisanal than it is about the alcohol, which could incorporate a lot of local community stuff. But I think if we had a private, whole nother legal trouble. So.
No, I agree.
Well,
I think
I think there's a possibility for there to be other things that are like, people want to rent our space for a mixology class, or Pflugerville is about to host in April one of the largest craft brewery festivals in the state. So there's conceivably other things.
that's true.
Yeah,
Perhaps we put something in there that say, exceptions may be made with approval from the library board or approval from city administration, probably city administration.
I think it's always best when you can like keep things broad and give yourself the ability and permission to not violate your own policies.
That's very applicable, yeah. I didn't know that was becoming more prominent in the local area, so thank you.
Yeah, Pflugerville's getting a great craft beer scene.
Yeah, and she makes a good point. What if we want to do a program like
Well,
that?
in that case, wouldn't, it could be allowed if you were operating in conjunction with a library program? Like, since we have library programs already, I'd be like, in that case, like, yes, you can do a mixology thing here, but it would need to fall under a library. So still falling under the broader umbrella of at the discretion of the library director, but maybe we could skirt around that by saying it's no longer a private event, it's a library partnership or something.
Well, wouldn't that make the library liable for any? No. Okay, sorry. I'm just gonna cut off my thought there because I can't answer myself.
Okay. So I'm asking about the meeting room policy on alcohol, the cleanup. I write my notes on here. Addressing the library board on the agenda rather than in public comment or citizen communication. Taking out lost and found.
Did you say the public nuisance thing and whether to add losing ability to reserve?
That was the, under the second part of the meeting room policy. We were going to say may lose ability to rent in the future instead of if trash remains, appropriate warnings from staff, blah, 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 may be considered to have created a public nuisance. So we're taking out considered to have created a public nuisance and replacing it with may lose ability to rent in the future.
At the director's discretion to define who makes that decision.
Diagram. You guys trust me with a lot. I'm kidding.
We have good reason to.
Okay, so
No, we're taking out taking out the definitions of harassment.
yes, the harassment will be, now we're just directing them to the state law.
Well, there's going to be a question about that, but I asked my question. So
Sure.
Thank you.
The rest is mostly revised language. Daniel, do you see anything else that's jumping out? She proposed some additions on page 12. Meeting room users are subject to section 2, library guest code of conduct. That makes sense. So she suggests putting that in there. Staff reserves the right to request the individual to leave the premises should an individual's conduct not be in conformance with this policy. The library's director's decision is final. The library is not responsible for the loss or damage to personal property left unattended in the meeting room. Any property left unattended may be removed by staff. So, okay. I'm not going back to the lost and found, I promise. Misuse or damage of the meeting room will result in the loss of use privileges, destruction, or defacement of library property. I'm sorry, but I'm half blind. Will not be tolerated, and the individual will be required to bear the cost of any damage to the meeting room or its contents.
Just a quick question.
Mhm.
This is a little bit later. In section 6 on page 23, she comments, do we define what the friends of the friends of the Pflugerville Public Library are, or do we even need to? She's asking the question if the friends of the Pflugerville Public Library are different than the library board. I mean, should we just say yes, it is, and leave it there, or?
In that case, I would say, in accepting a gift, the library, Friends of the Library and the City of Pflugerville, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I think that at the beginning where she says that we need to throw some definitions in there, I think we could probably put that up there, that it's the nonprofit that supports the library programs.
Got it, okay.
I liked the lawyer's suggestion about unattended children and teens, about explaining the, I'm not sure if that's a Latin term, the loco parentis. Like, I
Yeah.
liked how she added the extra sentence. I thought that was helpful. Because some of our citizens might not know that term.
That's true.
I think that covers most of it.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so for the next meeting, get policies again. Yay. So I will make those changes that we've discussed and try and be more consistent with the language. I will send these out a little bit earlier than I do the packet, so everybody has a chance to look them over. I'm gonna write on here, send early. And hopefully that'll be it until, I think, in 2 weeks. Oh, I should have put that in the policies. But that'll have to wait till the following meeting, so. Okay. That is it. One little thing, I didn't mention the director's report. We will be starting our budget planning in the next few weeks. I think the first draft is in March. So I will be bringing those things up to the board also for suggestions, comments, etc. And our 5-year plan will come after that. And that's not until summer though, so relax. Oh, I just need your permission to use your email address for TLA.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So for those of you that have expressed an interest in going to TLA, I will be sending, I think everybody has sent me their email addresses. Did you want to go, Dawn?
I think I had a conflict is the reason I kept, not,
Just let me know. I mean, it's not like I can buy these passes right up to the event time, or like a week before. So if I send this off and somebody says, oh, wait, I wanted to go to the exhibits, just let me know. And I'll add you. All right. So I will be sending that spreadsheet to TLA, and you will get something in your email that says, your exhibit pass, whatever. I don't believe they send them to you. You just, when you come in, you check in and they give you your badge. Okay. We will be giving, every year, each department has to give a report to the council. And ours has always been in November. So in November, I gave the report to the council. And it's essentially the same report that I give to the board at the end of the fiscal year in September. And that tells you where we are as far as our stats go, any awards or accolades that we've gotten, et cetera, and what our upcoming plans for the next year are. But they changed the calendar for that, and now we're in April. So I have to do the presentation in April. I've already done it in November, so this April coming up is going to be a little bit different. And I think it's going to concentrate a lot on what we're going to be doing at TLA, because it's happening right before we go to TLA. And staff is on multiple committees, and they're doing presentations and stuff. I was joking today that they should call it Pflugerville Library Conference, but staff are doing a number of programs. So. You will hear more about that before the April presentation.
If there aren't any more questions, we have a motion to adjourn
Motion to adjourn.
and a second.
Second?
A second?
There you go. It's like somebody.
If y'all have any questions or thoughts that, come to you, just email me. That's fine.
Cool.